Ready? Ready? Yeah. Looks ready.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the May meeting of the Government Contract Review Committee. First item on the agenda is the consideration of the minutes of the April 11th meeting of the committee. Is there a motion is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion by Senator Douglas, a second by Senator Meredith. Please take the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Chester Burton,
Yes, here.
Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative Pollock,
Yes.
Senator Meredith,
Aye.
Chairman Hart.
Yes. The total number of items on the agenda today equal 597 in the amount of $152,170,046.84. All vendors are registered with the Secretary of State's office. Next is the deferred list, which is with the Office of Administrative Services and is item number 50 from the April PSC green list. Oh. But before we do that, before I ask y'all to come to the table, Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Present.
Senator Yates, Representative Chester Burton,
Present.
Representative McCool,
Here.
Representative Pollock,
Here.
Senator Meredith,
Present.
Chairman Hart.
Here. All right. This is now, if anybody's here for Office of Administrative Courts, please come to the table and identify yourself for the record. Oh, Office of Administrative Services. I'm sorry, I said the wrong.
Don't know your. Is your button on?
Here.
Okay.
Sorry. Corey Troutman, Division Director for Financial Management in Office of Administrative Services.
Could you pull that a little bit closer, please?
Right. All right, there you go.
Yeah.
And Joe Newberg, General Counsel, Energy and Environment Cabinet. Good morning.
Good morning.
If you all could just, we're going to take a real brief recess while we get some documents, and then we'll get started as soon as our clerk gets back.
Bear, would you have a good time? Wasn't the weather beautiful? We just go dirty. Why? Crazy girl, our girl. Her and I should go to O's. But it was cool to drive with this one.
Okay, I think we're ready to get started again. Apologize for that brief interruption. If you both would raise your right hand, we are now going to start the practice in this committee of swearing everybody in, kind of follow suit with some of the other committees in the House, and I think the Senate is doing it as well. So if you would raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
All right, thank you. And at this time, we have some questions, or I have some questions, or a couple questions. But the first question, as I was looking at this contract, I was wondering, how long was the RFP open, and why was it so short, the time period?
It was open, yes, for 10 days, and I think Joe can speak to the urgency.
Okay.
Sure, there was a statute of limitations on April 1 that we were trying to meet for certain claims that we brought in the Franklin Circuit Court related to PFAS contamination.
Okay. Why was it listed as a professional service contract and not a legal service contract?
I can't speak to that, sir.
I'm not sure about that either.
Okay. Does the Cossack firm have any attorneys listed to practice in Kentucky?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. How are they, or will they indicate, or how have they indicated to you all how they're going to appear in Kentucky courts?
Sure. One of the firms that's in this consortium that successfully bid on the contract is a Kentucky firm out of northern Kentucky.
Okay, so they are affiliated with a Kentucky firm that can represent in court.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did anyone with the Commonwealth discuss this RFP with anyone from the Bashir for Governor campaign prior to the RFP being issued or the contract being awarded?
Not that I'm aware, sir.
Okay. Was the RFP drafted with the intent that most potential respondents could not qualify, or was it drafted in relation to trying to get the best firm possible?
It was drafted in relation to get the best firm possible with the requirements that we had for this specific type of litigation.
Okay. Senator Meredith, do you have?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. These things always get my attention when we spend this much money, particularly outside of Kentucky. This is my 7th year on this committee, and I don't think I've ever seen a contract of this size before for contingency, particularly for legal services. Matter of fact, during the previous administration, it's very rare we got any requests for contracts at all, but it seems during this administration that we just had a multitude of requests for contracts for legal services. And I guess I'm curious as to what the responsibilities of the Governor's General Counsel is with regard to these. How do they involve themselves?
Well, sir, I'd like to avoid getting into any kind of attorney-client material. If it's possible, I could follow up with a written answer to you later, but I can't speak to that immediately.
Well, maybe more basically then, how many attorneys are in the Governor's General Counsel?
I don't know that, sir.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that this firm has a relationship with the Northern Kentucky firm that'll be handling cases within Kentucky for them, correct?
Yes, sir.
Who is that firm?
That is, if you forgive me. That is Hendy, Johnson, Vaughn, and Emery, PSC.
Why couldn't we have contracted directly with them?
They did not bid on the solicitation that was posted.
Do you know why?
No, sir.
You said this is only open for 10 days, correct?
Correct.
And what was the sense of urgency again?
I believe a motion had to be filed.
There was a statute of limitations, Chairman, that we were running up against on claims that we brought in Franklin Circuit Court.
And who made the decision that within the Governor's office that his general counsel couldn't respond to that? If there's a sense of urgency.
I don't know, sir.
Well, again, my concern is we're spending potentially $20 million outside of Kentucky. I know some is going to be farmed out to this Northern Kentucky firm, which I certainly would applaud, but this looks rather carte blanche to me, $20 million. How's the RFP distributed, advertised? How do people aware of it?
Registered vendors through our finance cabinet get the notifications depending on what type of contract is posted. Finance cabinet posts those out for us.
How many firms responded to the RFP?
3.
And who made their final decision to go with this firm?
The team that Mr. Newberg was on and 2 others
The
in our office.
the scoring team. Are you asking who was on that team, sir?
Yes.
That was myself, and attorneys Liz Natter, Jared Bentley, Chris Fitzpatrick, and Leanne Applegate.
Who were the other 2 firms that submitted proposals?
Can we get into that?
I don't have those, and I don't know those off the top of my head.
I also don't, but we can get you that information, sir.
What's the criterion for making the final selection?
I said I don't have the scoring sheet in front of me, but those materials.
Yeah, we can get those to you.
Can you tell me how those scoring mechanisms are developed? I mean, is it specific to every time we request legal services? Do we use the same scoring sheet criteria?
I don't know, sir.
Can you tell me what case they're working on that there's a sense of urgency? Which cabinet did it involve?
The Energy and Environment Cabinet.
Does this firm have a particular expertise in that area?
This firm has expertise not only with complex environmental litigation, but with PFAS contamination specifically. So yes, sir.
Why couldn't we have done this just for this particular case and open it up a little bit broader for other firms to consider? I understand the urgency, 10 days, you got to reply, but why couldn't we just had an RFP for this particular litigation and then open it up for future litigation? Again, I'm not even sure why we have to do a $20 million contingency contract, because you don't know what's coming up there unless you've got a list of lawsuits that are pending, do we?
A list of lawsuits related to PFAS that are pending, sir?
Yes.
Well, there is the one case that was brought by the successful bidder on behalf of the Commonwealth at Franklin Circuit Court. There's also multi-district litigation happening at the U.S. District Court for the District of South Carolina, which we may become involved in as well.
Mm-hmm. But those suits weren't ongoing. We only had one that there was a sense of urgency that you made reference to, correct?
Yes, and that is the one that we filed in Franklin.
Well, again, I know I had a kind of a rambling question, but why couldn't we have just done an RFP for this one particular suit? And why do we have to have an RFP for $20 million?
Well, I would say that in the interest of making sure that we get the most bang from our buck, having a single firm handling all of the PFAS litigation for the Commonwealth would prevent, I would say that would prevent a duplication of services.
Yeah, but I would think each firm would have their own level of expertise in certain areas, and again, $20 million is rather carte blanche. It's just, here, are they going to be dealing with all the lawsuits that come through the governor's office? Will this be exclusive?
So the staff from the Energy and Environment Cabinet, myself included, are working with them on potential claims to bring. I apologize, sir. I may not understand your question.
Well, how did you ascertain that $20 million is the number? What do we base that upon?
That's simply the maximum contingency fee allowed under 45A, I believe.
So potentially it could be less than 20 million? Could be more than 20 million?
The amount that the firm will be paid will not be more than 20 million, but the recovery for the Commonwealth could be greater.
Of course, because it's contingency. What's their percentage?
Sir, I'd have to look at the statute, but I know it's a certain percentage under a certain dollar amount, and then it kind of goes up in brackets. But I don't know those percentages off the top of my head.
It's more specific to Co-Chair Hart's question earlier. Did any of the principals or partners or attorneys with this firm make any political donations to the governor's reelection campaign?
I don't know.
Should we know that?
I think that's something that you all could certainly inquire about.
But should we know that? I mean, does that present a conflict of interest if that occurs?
Well, I mean, what I can say, sir, is that we followed 45A in the RFP process and with all the procurement that we performed on this one.
I'll check on this to be sure, but I believe the bidders have to sign off on an affidavit saying they have not donated.
Before the contract was awarded, did anyone within the governor's office have a relationship with this firm? Did anybody know of them? Had they worked with them previously?
Not that I'm aware of.
Then within a 10-day time frame, how do you know this was the best firm to work with?
Well, again, Chairman, I would say that we followed 45A. We went through the same scoring process that would have gone through had it been 20 days.
Well, the problem with 45A is, so when you score these contracts, it's not the cheapest contract. It's always the best contract, and that's subject to interpretation. And that's my concern. Again, I know there are very capable law firms within the state of Kentucky that can handle this litigation, as evidenced by this company, this firm, going to kind of subcontract with this firm in northern Kentucky. So, again, to make a $20 million decisions within a 10-day time frame just seems a little cavalier, for want of a better term.
I understand, sir.
Well, is there an opportunity to revisit this and just limit this just to this particular case you're dealing with and come back with another proposal to open it up to other law firms?
I don't know what the mechanism would be to do that, sir.
Well, again, with every cabinet that we have within state government, they're all going to have their own unique issues, I would think. This one's is specific to environmental, energy and environmental. I can understand where we may give a contract to a firm who has a specialty in that area, but that doesn't mean that they have the same specialty in the Cabinet for Health and Family Services or transportation. So, again, it just concerns me that we're potentially investing that much money for a firm that, to my knowledge, is the first time they've ever contracted with the state of Kentucky. Do you know if that's a true statement or not? Have they ever done business with Kentucky before?
I do not know, sir.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. I have one final question. Has the Attorney General notified the administration of conflicts that would preclude them from representing the interest of the Commonwealth in these matters?
Not that I'm aware.
Not that you're aware of. All right. I have no further questions. Does anybody else on the committee have any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to consider the contract reviewed without objection?
I make a motion.
Who made it? Oh.
Chester Burton.
Representative Chester Burton made a motion. Do I have a second? Seeing no second, do I have a motion to disapprove this contract?
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion. And again, to award a $20 million contract to a firm outside the state with just 10-day notice for folks to really take a look at this is kind of disturbing to me. It may be very well warranted, but it looks like an opportunity to establish a broader relationship with other law firms throughout the state if this pie could be divided up to some degree, taking advantage of the expertise that each firm might have. But to that end, I'll make a motion to disapprove.
I have a motion by Senator Meredith to disapprove. Do I have a second? I have a second by Senator Douglas. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Chester Burton,
Pass.
Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative Pollock, Senator Meredith,
Aye.
Chairman Hart.
Yes. No nay votes, one pass vote, motion carries, and this contract will be referred to the Finance Cabinet. Thank you all so much for your testimony.
Thank you for having us.
Next order of business is consideration of the agenda, including the deferred list, personal service contract list, PSC amendment list, memorandum of agreement list, memorandum of agreement amendment list, and the Kentucky Entertainment Incentive Program agreement list, except for those items selected for further review. Do we have a motion to consider the contracts reviewed without objection?
So moved.
Motion made by Senator Meredith, second by Senator Douglas. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Chester Burton,
Yes.
Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative Pollock,
Yes.
Senator Meredith,
Aye.
Chairman Hart.
Yes. Motion carries. The first item on the pool list is with the Attorney General and is item number 2 on the routine PSC green list. If the representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record.
Blake Christopher with the Attorney General's office.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Victor Maddox, Deputy Attorney General.
Stacy Woodrum, Executive Director, Administrative Services.
Okay, if you all could please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, guys. All right, and I think Senator Meredith, do you have questions?
Yes, co-chair. And you folks had the advantage of sitting back there and hearing the questions we had for the previous contract, which kind of eerily similar. This $20 million is contingency. It's for a firm that's outside the state, which is always a concern to me. I guess we'll go through the same gyrations we did with the previous group. Was this an RFP for this firm?
Yes, Senator, it was.
And how long was that RFP open?
30 days.
30 days, which is pretty much standard for our RFPs. And how many firms responded?
3.
Any Kentucky firms?
No, sir.
Would you know why? And I know that, this one, I appreciate the explanation we have here is very much more specific to the situation than what we talked about previously. But this firm that was awarded the contract, I assume, has some experience in this particular field.
Senator Meredith, I believe that the responding firm here listed in D's is really the preeminent firm in the country on this particular subject matter. I was not on the scoring committee. None of us were on the scoring committee, but I've seen their work, and my understanding is that the listed in D's response was far and away the best response of the 3.
I know it's maybe not a fair question, but being contingency, do you really believe we'll spend $20 million on this litigation, or is that kind of the top end?
The $20 million is the maximum amount that a contingency fee contract is allowed to pay under 45A. To get to $20 million, I believe the firm would need to recover about $350 million on behalf of the Commonwealth. And the way that works is the fee is 20% of the first $10 million recovered, 15% of the next $5 million recovered, 10% of the next $5 million, so 10% of the amount between $15 and $20 million, and then 5% of any excess over $20 million. So to get to $20 million in fees, I believe the number is in the range of $355 million. The contingency fee, for instance, if they recovered $50 million in this case, I think they would end up getting somewhere in the range of $5 million. which would be 10%. If they recovered $100 million, then they would get 5% of that additional 50 million. So that would be 2.5 million, I believe. So they would get 7.5 million, and that would be 7.5% of the total recovery. And of course, it goes down as the recovery goes up.
Well, that formula you make a reference to in 45A, I believe that was a direct result of legislation we passed in 2019, I believe. That was a result of the Purdue Pharma settlement that we had.
I believe that's right.
And again, just for historical perspective, that was a lawsuit that went on for many, many years, handled previous Attorney General, I think Stumbo, started the litigation. And the state of Kentucky, Commonwealth of Kentucky, got a default judgment for failure to answer interrogatories. And that default judgment thought there was going to be a settlement of close to $1 billion. And we actually ended up settling for, I believe it's $26 million.
24 million.
24 million. So kind of pales in comparison to what we've seen of late. But
And Senator, that all happened before I came to the Attorney General's office. But I have looked at some of the materials relating to that, and I know that settlement was reached in late December of 2015. I believe it was December 22nd. It was a week or so after there was scheduled to be a corporate representative deposition on behalf of the Commonwealth. I have no information about what drove that settlement or why that number was arrived at. But I do understand the circumstances there.
well, I believe that particular case, that case is sealed, is it not?
I'm not sure about that.
I think the terms of the settlement were sealed. Yeah.
I have a copy of the settlement agreement in my office, and it doesn't provide any information about the